I love Diwali and I love dance. So two of my very favorite things come together. And I am so honored to have Preeti Vasudevan here today to help us learn some storytelling in some different ways, whether it's through our face or through our gestures. But this is Preeti's story to tell. So over to you, Preeti.
வணக்கம் எல்லாருக்கும் இந்தியால இருந்து வணக்கம் தீபாவளிக்கு வாழ்த்துக்கள் உங்களுக்கு. Hello everybody, welcome from India and happy Diwali and happy Deepavali to all of you. My name is Preeti Vasudevan and I am a storyteller who dances, acts, I use my voice and my whole body to tell you stories from a long time ago and from the present time. Stories about you, stories by you, but also stories from your grandparents, great-grandparents, written in books from faraway lands and a long, long time ago, from faraway time. So I'm going to bring Diwali to you from India, where I am currently visiting my parents. I live in New York with my family. My daughter and my husband are still in New York, and I think they have their jackets on like many of you. But in India now, I have the AC on, the air conditioning on, because it's so hot. It's a tropical country. The leaves outside are green and lush, and it's my favorite season, the monsoons, the rain that comes down. If you do this with my hands, with your own hands, just follow what I'm doing, just shaking your fingers up and down and follow them. That's how the rain falls in sheets of water over the leaves. In India, in southern India, where I come from, it's always 90 degrees here. So it's a bit like Florida, I think, to enjoy yourself by the beach. But Diwali is a festival of lights, and diya means lamp. So this is how you hold the lamp with your hands. You close your hands like this and you open it up like this and then break open the hands, and there you go. You've got little lamps over here. And the festival of lights is the diyas, where you show the lights everywhere, and it lights up not just your house, but people's hearts and lives. It's a very, very important festival in India for all of us. All over India, north, south, east, west, we all celebrate Diwali. In the south, we call it Deepavali. We say Deepam for the same lamp, that in the north they say Diya. We're all very different kinds of people in India. We look quite different, we eat different things, but this festival really brings us all together to celebrate light in our lives and light that we can give to everybody else out there. And you know, it's a very special year because I haven't seen my parents in over 2 years. So I thought I should come here and see them and celebrate Diwali here in India with them. And therefore, I'm sharing my Diwali with you from faraway India. Now, as a child, now many of you are children. I like to think I'm still a child because I love stories. And who wouldn't like a story? Now, have you heard stories from your parents? Or maybe that aunt next door? Or maybe that grandfather right over there on that side? Now, they all tell you different stories, don't they? And then we ask the questions. What happened next? Who was that? Why did she do that? When did that happen? All the different questions that makes us connect to people and places and makes us understand ourselves better. Now, in Diwali, we just don't have one story. We have many stories. We have favorite stories, and we also have favorite characters. So I'm going to take you back in time, far away, to one of the most favorite stories and famous stories from India that traveled from India to Southeast Asia, to Indonesia, to Bali, to Sri Lanka. And the characters changed, and they have different dance forms over there based on this one story that took place a long time ago. This is a story about a prince called Rama, and that's how we show him. This is his bow and his arrow. And he married a beautiful woman called Sita. And we show her this way. And he had a brother called Lakshmana. We show the younger brother this way. Now, long story short, he was exiled, banished from his kingdom for 14 years. And he had to travel all the way to the south of India from the north through the thick jungles. And then one day, the king of Sri Lanka, who had 10 heads, kidnapped his beautiful wife Sita and took her to the faraway island kingdom of Sri Lanka. What did Rama do? Oh, he was so sad. But he didn't give up hope. He had friends around him. He formed an army, an unusual army of monkeys. And try to do this with me. Try to hold your hands down like this and bring your lips together and puff it up like how I'm doing to form the monkey. And that's how we show monkey in my dance form. And immediately when I do that, you know I'm the monkey. But if I do this, you know I'm Prince Rama. If I do this, I'm his wife Sita. So you see, we have little codes or symbols and gestures to show you which characters which and what do they do. So anyway, this kingdom, this whole army of monkeys helped Rama build a bridge, cross over to Sri Lanka, fight the king. He was defeated, he was killed. And then Rama brought Sita, his wife, back to India. And as they started going back to their kingdom to the north of India, the news reached everyone around them. And because they were so happy, they lit the way for this couple all the way from the south to the north with diyas or lamps, which also meant that their hearts were open with joy and they were celebrating his victory of this war and to bring his dear wife back. So this story of Rama and Sita is a very famous one in India. And there are many, many festivals built around this, especially around this time. Two other stories are there. I will tell them in a very short manner to you. This is about the naughty little god called Krishna. Well, he's a boy, really, who grew into this young man. He was very naughty. He always loved to play the flute. And all the lovely milkmaids fell in love with him because he was so handsome. And when he plays flute, they would completely fall in love with him and go dizzy looking at him. Now, he was also very brave. And there was an evil creature, let's call him a creature, who came and kidnapped about 1,600 women and took them away. So Krishna put his flute into his little waistband and off he went to fight Narakasura, the demon mischievous spirit. And he killed him and he rescued the women and took them back to safety. So in parts of India, we celebrate Diwali because Krishna defeated Narakasura and all the women were free. And so everybody lit their lamps and celebrated Krishna. Then there is the beautiful goddess Devi. And part of Devi, from her forehead emerged a very powerful goddess called Kali. And she was born out of the forehead to kill all the wrong and evil things around us in the world. So to celebrate her, people also light lamps. So you see, it's really about celebration and happiness. It's to tell people we need to have hope and be happy. And remember, I told you that I come from a very warm country where we eat a lot of food with our family on this day. We take the blessings of our elders and we wear summer clothes all the time. But I have a question for you. What would happen if you had to leave a very warm country and go far away to a cold country and live over there? And when Diwali came, what would you do? Well, I'm going to introduce you to a young girl. Her name is Gita, and she comes from India. Her parents decided to move to a faraway country in North America. I won't tell you which city, but just imagine it's in the north part of North America. And she went over there, and during Diwali, she had to discover new things for herself that wasn't available for her as she had in India. So before I show you the story, I want you to look out for a few things. I want you to look out for how many characters are there in the story. Because the story just can't have one character. Well, sometimes it can, but most of the time, we love other characters to come and create some mischief, or create some love, or create some laughter, or anger, different emotions that make us. So look out for how many characters there are. Then I would like you to just imagine how far away did she actually travel? I've already given you a clue. So now when you see the story, really think about, did she really travel that far away? And how far is far? And the third thing is, towards the end of the story, Gita, our main actor, this young girl, realizes something. She discovers something about Diwali and her new home. And I'd love you to see and think about and find out, what could that be? So this is a story I created for the camera. It's called Lights for Gita, and I would love you to watch it. And when you finish it, I'll be right there and I'll come back to you and we'll have some fun.
Gita pulled her hat down over her ears as she stepped off the school bus. Diwali, she whispered. Today is really and truly Diwali. But nothing in the November gloom seemed like Diwali. Today, New Delhi would be glowing with celebration. All her aunts, uncles and cousins would be together at her grandparents' house. They'd be laughing, talking and exchanging sweets with friends and neighbors. In the evening, they'd light diyas to honor the goddess Lakshmi, who brought prosperity and happiness. And then, fireworks. The whole city would be brilliant with fireworks. Gita looked anxiously at the dark clouds. Please, please don't rain. Papa had said, I'll be home early with fireworks for our first Diwali in our new home. It wouldn't be like Diwali at her grandparents'. Still, Mummy had made their favorite sweets, golden peras, spiral jalebis. And she'd let Gita invite 5 school friends to help celebrate. Gita had wanted to invite her whole class, but you had to be quiet in an apartment. Not outside though. Fireworks, lots of them. That's what Diwali was all about, the festival of lights. Gita glared at the grey sky before racing up the creaky stairs to their apartment. She flung her arms around her mother. Papa was home early, just as he'd promised. Did you get the fireworks, Papa? Yes, I got them, he said slowly. But Gita, Diwali isn't just fireworks. There's... Show me, Papa. Where are they? Gently, Papa turned Gita towards the window. A large drop splashed against the glass. Then another and another. It won't last long, said Gita, her voice wobbly. The forecast says freezing rain tonight, said Papa. Never mind. We'll have the fireworks tomorrow. But I promised my friends. We'll turn on all the lights, said Mummy, and light the diyas. You and your friends will have a lovely party. Gita blinked back her tears. Come, said her mother. Change into your new dress. Then we'll light the diyas. Gita and her mother set the little clay pots along the windowsills and around the room. Needles of ice stung the windows. Freezing rain on Diwali. How could such a place ever be home? Last year, Diwali had been warm and joyful. She and her cousins had startled everyone with noisy crackers called Little Rascals. They'd whispered in the prayer room as the incense smoke curled upwards and the grown-ups chanted. Grandmother had told them stories of Prince Ram and his wife Sita and of their homecoming on Diwali. And in the evening, cones spouted fountains of fire, Catherine wheels whirled, and hissing rockets burst into dazzling showers of color. A sudden gust rattled the window. Gita stuck out her tongue. "You can't get in, and you won't spoil my party." She gave a hard twist to the wisps of cotton wick. Mummy, bangles tinkling, filled the diyas with mustard oil. As she finished, the phone rang. Gita heard the murmur of her mother's voice, the click of the receiver, and then more ringing. She shook the box of matches impatiently as her mother came back. "Can I light the first one?" Mummy just smiled and smoothed Gita's hair. That was Jenny and Helga. "It's too icy to drive. They can't come." The phone rang again. Gita ran to her room. She burrowed into bed and jerked the covers over her head. "I hate this place," she sobbed. Mummy lifted back the covers and gently hugged Gita. "Amy hasn't called, and she does live nearby." Gita pulled away and blew her nose. "Gita," said Mummy softly, "Diwali is really about filling the darkness with light. Fireworks can't do it for us. We must do it ourselves." Mummy's smile was bright, but also sad, like grandmother's smile when they'd said goodbye. For a long moment, Gita sat still. Then she managed a watery smile. "Let's light the diyas." One by one, golden flames quivered and sprang to life. The warm fragrance of mustard oil filled the room. Just as Gita lit the last wick, the electric lights flickered, on, off, on again. Then all the lights, in the apartment, in all the houses, even the street lamps, died. Darkness on Diwali. Gita's throat tightened. Then she began to laugh. In the sudden rush of darkness, their diyas glowed, bright, brighter, brightest, filling the living room with light. "We beat the darkness! We beat the darkness!" Gita clapped her hands. "Lakshmi will come for sure. We'll have wonderful luck," said Mummy. Gita ran to the window. The diya's reflection made it seem as if there were another shining room outside. She sang softly. Drops of freezing rain glittered as they flew past. Slowly, the headlights of a car came down the street and stopped in front of their building. "It's Amy!" shouted Gita. Papa started downstairs with a flashlight. Gita ran ahead in the bouncing circle of light. She opened the front door. "Careful, it's icy," called Papa. Gita took a few cautious steps. She stopped, eyes wide. The whole world glistened. The sidewalks, every branch, every twig, the lamppost, even the blades of grass. In the dark city, only their windows blazed with the steady glow of diyas. The ice, reflecting their light, sparkled and danced like fireworks. Amy's voice brought her back. "Gita, tomorrow we can go sliding. It'll be like flying." Gita's eyes shone. She'd have to write her grandparents about this Diwali in her new home. "Hey, Amy, let's play hide and seek while the power's still out. She took one last look at the light singing in the heart of the ice. Come on, she shouted. Race you upstairs!
So, we've seen the story about Gita, and I wonder if now you know how many characters there might be there. And what did she learn at the end? Did she actually end up liking her new home, which had freezing rain instead of warm weather? And that is the whole point of the story, how we can turn something that we think is going to make us sad into something that's going to make us really happy. The light inside that's going to shine outside. And really, that's what Diwali is all about, to make us all bring out a big smile from our hearts and pass it on to others, and to learn about others and ourselves. Now, this whole story, you just saw me, but the story just wasn't done by me. There are lots of people who go about creating a story like this. Well, there's me, the actor that you see, and then you hear a voice, the narrator's voice, who takes on the different characters' roles and changes the texture of the voice. But you heard something really beautiful, music, the sound. You might have heard the piano maybe. Beautiful piano playing, giving you the feel of Diwali, the excitement of Gita. All of those moments that you heard me saw were brought together by this lovely music that was composed by a wonderful musician called Charu Suri. And I would love for you to meet Charu and for her to tell you what went through her mind when she created the music for the story. So why don't we meet Charu and listen to what she says, and then I'll come back and talk to you a little more.
Hi, my name is Charu Suri, and I'm a jazz pianist and composer originally from South India, and I was very honored to compose the music for Lights for Gita, which Preeti Vasudevan requested, and it was a wonderful process. The story was fantastic, and I wanted to explain a little bit about how the music came about. So when I read the story, when Preeti first gave me the story, I was overjoyed because it's complex and yet simple. So there's many facets of the story. There's happiness, there's joy, there's sadness, and there's also that beautiful description about Diwali and what Diwali means and the firecrackers. And what struck me was how many moods this piece had. So I decided to use an Indian raga. I've composed albums fusing Indian ragas and a jazz trio, so which is fairly new. So I used an Indian raga, Sankarabaranam, which is morning raga, very energetic and uplifting. And I used it as the basis to show the happiness, the uplifting part of darkness being defeated. And then when the mood switches to sad, when Gita is, unsure of how she's going to celebrate Diwali because of all the rain and her friend's not able to attend, then it goes to minor. So I invited my vibraphone player and my drummer, Jesse Gerbasi, who collaborated with me on a raga album, to do the vibes, to provide the contrast and the context of the darkness and light. So with the piano, I used that motif of Sankarabaranam always being the happier parts. And then I switched to minor during the sad moments, especially when the droplets occurred and when Preeti's hand motion happened. That was when I wanted to signal in music the intensity of the water coming down and dampening Gita's plans for Diwali. But at the end of the day, it's all about optimism. So I hope you enjoy it and enjoy the contrast and such a beautiful story, and happy Diwali.
So that was Charu, and Charu plays wonderful piano, as you heard, and there are two other instruments that she mentioned too. And if you're in New York, you can hear her at Carnegie Hall on November 13th. So she's a very dear friend now. She's a collaborator, a composer, and a mother of a child almost the same age as my child. We all have children. So it's a lot of fun doing this. There's another collaborator, And I don't know if you remember, but when the story started, you saw this beautiful piece of artwork, a beautiful drawing with this abstract face of a girl with lights all around her. Now, that's been created by a visual artist who is Indian, but he actually lives in Spain, all the way in Europe. So I had to call him and I said, his name is Harsha. And I said, Harsha, can you think about the story and how would you like to tell the story? I'd love to see your drawing and I'd love for my story to be opened by your artwork. So he created an artwork and you will see him in the video in this apartment in Spain as he's walking towards you and talking about his art. And I'd like you to imagine if you were an artist, what colors would you use? How would you create the shapes of Gita's face and the lamps all around her for Diwali? So meet Harsha, and then I will come back to you.
Hi, I'm Harsha. I'm an artist currently living in Barcelona. The idea with this work was to take inspiration from the original story, but I wanted to add a more contemporary feel to it. I imagine this family having moved out of India as recently as last year and are now celebrating their first Diwali out of town. Anyone who's ever lived abroad knows that Diwali is never the same outside. So I wanted to focus on that feeling of sadness that Gita shows when she's looking out the window. One of the things that I really like about this image is Gita's sweater. It's a sweater of a jalebi, which in the story actually is her favorite sweet. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye.
Now Harsha basically told you about the emotion. He chose an emotion. So this brings me to some fun activities with you. I think you saw a lot of different expressions in the story. And then the composer Charu Suri talked about a tune that she used, a raga, which is a melody from India. And she had a very complicated name for it. But really, if you heard music and if you heard the song Do Re Mi, it's really those same notes. So if you sing do re mi fa sol la ti, the melody, the scale of that is exactly what she was talking about. So really, the East-West, we kind of sing some of the same songs too, and the same tunes. They're happy tunes. And so she chose a happy tune for that. So with me, I thought, what fun could we have with our faces? We can do different emotions, but I'm going to try and do a little game with you. I call it the freeze dance for the face. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to move the eyebrows 3 times and hold it up for 2 seconds. Can you try this with me? Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Should we try again? Let's try to move the eyebrows as fast as you can. And when I say hold or when I say freeze, you should just freeze exactly when I tell you that. And let's begin. 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Now I'm going to take you from that happy moment to maybe an angry moment. Many of us get angry for small things, don't we? So what do? Do we raise our eyebrows and do we give a smile when we're angry? I don't think so. So let's do the opposite. Can you bring your eyebrows together like this, as if they're going to touch each other, right up there? And then you're going to bring your lips together like this. And you're going to give me a little staring look for 3 seconds. Let's go. Here you go. Can we go again to the angry look? 3, 2, 1, go. Now here's the challenge. We're going to go from happy, where we raise our eyebrows a few times and stop, to angry, when we bring all our features right into the center and we hold it still for 3 seconds. Are you ready? All right, let's go to the happy one. 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Change to anger. Now that was fun, wasn't it? But what if I add one more? Would that complicate things for you? Can we be sad? Did your mother not give you the cookie you wanted? Or the sweet? Or maybe a favorite toy? and you get very sad maybe. That's how Gita felt during Diwali when she saw the rain outside and she thought about India and the warm weather. So she was very sad. So let's try sad on our faces. So let's try to see if we can just drop our eyebrows down like this. And we're going to drop our lips down like this. And we're going to look straight to the camera, and then we're going to look down for 2 seconds like this. Now I'm feeling sad doing that. I don't want to keep it for too long. So let's try it again. And we're going to go eyebrows down, lips down, look down. Now, can we go from happy to angry to sad? And this is how we do theater. We train our faces in all different kinds of ways so we can show characters and we can switch so quickly to become different characters. Let's try happy, angry, and then sad. You ready? Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Now angry. Now sad. I hope you remember these, and I hope you can teach them to your friends too. Happy, angry, sad, 3 very important emotions that we can play with. So this brings me to another video I want to share with you, which is about different characters. What if you were an older person? Or what if you were really younger? How do you show different characters from different generations? Shall we watch?
In this video, I am trying to show you how, as a storyteller, I'm able to show 2 different age groups as a single actor. This is between Gita and her mother. Now, as a child, I'm trying to show Gita with very extremes in her reactions, from wonderment to anger, as you would have seen in the previous video. But with the mother, I show her as being calmer, more subtle, with slower movements, more specifically detailed as she goes to hold Gita in her hands, showing compassion, which in Indian dance is an emotional state called karunyam. You will see that when she goes and lifts Gita's bed cover that Gita has covered earlier because of anger that her friends cannot come to visit her, her mother lifts the cover gently and slowly and smiles at her to show a very motherly affection, a love from mother to child. Whereas Gita shows Raudram, the emotional state of anger, that she's very disappointed and she hates the day. So the same actor can be 2 different people, almost simultaneously switching from one to the other.
So you see, there was the young girl, Gita, who we know now, and her mother, how to show different expressions. But what do we do about a child? How do we become a child? Does a child take things very slowly a lot of times or very quickly? Do you get excited many times? Do you turn your head very fast? Or do you think for a long time? Shall we see what a child does and how we can show a child in different ways in this coming video?
In this video, you will see the way I represent a child in the story, the story of Gita and the festival of Diwali. For a child, the expressions, the emotions are very sudden, they change rapidly. So for Gita, her excitement and amazement of the celebration of lights in Diwali shows her wonderment and amazement, which in Indian dance is the emotional state called Adbhutam. Now, you will see her using the gestures called Samdamsham, which is open and close, this gesture, to show how beautiful and how glowing and sparkling Diwali is, filled with fireworks and lights everywhere. You will see me performing that, being open-chested, smiling, and the face really having open features. And soon after, you will see Gita getting very angry because she does not like the freezing rain outside her window. in this North American city that her parents have moved to, away from the warmth of the tropics. So I bring my body close together, my expressions coming more towards the center as I show the expression, the emotional state in Indian dance called Raudram, where she looks holding her fists together at the angry rain. And she also uses the gesture Suchi to admonish the rain. And here I use his finger to point at the window, telling the rain to go away. Now Gita is a child. And as a child, she changes her mind very, very quickly. So in another part of the story, she looks at the rain very differently. Now that she has lit the lamps and the raindrops are sparkling with the lights, she looks at them with wonderment, again, Adbhutam. And here the rain I show with the gesture Hamsasyam, falling diagonally. And here I shake them and open and close them to show how the raindrops fall. And I also blink my eyes to show the sparkliness of the rain that Gita looks at with amazement.
Great. So now you're experts with these expressions. So when you saw my video now, of course you knew how to be angry, how to have wonder, how to be happy. But I want to show you a couple of things. And then I want to talk about the rest of the world and how we celebrate with lights. So let's do this. Can you flutter your eyes really quickly? Blink them just like it rains. Blink, 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 blink. How fast can you blink your eyes? Really fast. And that's how all the lights were sparkling for Gita. And now stop blinking them. And now you're going to look at lights from side to side without blinking. Let's try that, shall we? So we're going to look right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Now look at me. How many of you blinked? Did you not blink or did you blink? So we have different ways of working with the eyes. Blinking really fast and not blinking as we look side to side. And that way we can use our eyes to tell lots of different stories, not just our hands, but our eyebrows, our eyes, our necks, our fingers. They all become little storytelling magical moments. And then we put them all together to make ourselves this wonderful storyteller. You can be the next storyteller. What story would you tell others? With that, I want to ask you, each of you, where you come from, do you celebrate with lights? What kind of lights do you use? In India, we have Diwali with diya or the lamp. I know another festival that's coming up in December, maybe 2, maybe 3, that use lights. I think one is called Christmas. Maybe one is called Hanukkah. Or actually far away in China, they light lanterns. It's called the Lantern Festival. And I'm sure there are many more, and you can tell me more because I would love to know in what ways do you light lamps and in what ways do you send messages of light and hope to everybody in the world. And it's so important now that we pass on our love to everybody and light the lamps and share it with people who are much older, much younger, with animals, plants, with Mother Nature, and do have all those sweets for the Diwali because they're so yummy. And if your parents say no, just tell them it's the festival of lights. It's called Diwali. We've got to light a few lamps and eat a few sweets and hug everyone and light up their lights and their lives. So I hope you had a great time with Lights for Gita. With me, my name is Preeti Vasudevan, and enjoy yourselves. Happy Diwali.